Since managing money is not everybody's cup of tea, and even a single person struggles too, especially the single person. Mas marami siyang gustong gastusin kasi it's 100% hers or his. I suggest that you tee up with someone who can help you manage. So the next time your advisor calls you, make time. They are your real life accountability partner. Welcome to the Secured and Happy Lifestyle Podcast, the show that's designed for parents with kids and families in business. Those who are looking to sustain and grow their business while protecting their legacies. This show is where we share best practices based from experience and real life success. It guarantees to give you value and lesson. And this is brought to you by Coach Aiet. Hi, welcome to the Secured and Happy Lifestyle. Today, we're gonna talk about why money matters. Ika nga, relationship goals. How many of you experience this? Nagkukwento yung kumare or yung kaibigan, tapos pinag-uusapan, problema sa puso, pero sumasakto din na problema sa pera. Major interesting topic to. That's why I want to talk about it on this podcast. You say, when it comes to managing couple finances, there is no one size fits all rule. Just like how you have known each other while your relationship progresses. Ika nga pag single pa kayo, boyfriend and girlfriend, kaya pa. Pero kapag couple na, married, ibang usapan na yan. You should always learn about each other's behavior in spending and saving patterns. How many of you wants to know the secret to a lasting relationship? Relationship goals nga, guys, diba? Did you know that being transparent is in a way a form of respect and a form of affection? Well, it's not always sunshine and rainbows. And again, this is based from experience. At one point, if you are in a relationship, misunderstandings could lead to unresolved issues. Did you know that couples fight over money at least once a month, even when they are in a happy relationship? We know na the most common cause of breakup is money. Or siguro hindi naman palagi, no? Pero dun sa mga nakukwento, parang nagiging root cause ng paghihiwalay or split is about money. Specifically on handling money. When you are in a relationship kasi, I become we and mine becomes ours. Everything that you gain individually, at the end of the day, you share them equally. Kaya nga naging famous yung meme na happy wife, happy life, diba? Whatever is his is theirs, and whatever is hers alone. Yan. May mga episodes din naman akong ganyan. So, relate much. This may sound as easy as pie, but this can be chaotic when couples do not know their way around managing their finances. But guess what? Today, pag-uusapan natin ang tips to help you start with your financial plan. Tip number 1. Pag-usapan niyo ang pera. Talk about money. Huwag kang mahiyang magtanong. #Generica. O, diba? Share to your partner your personal finances. How you envision it saved, spent, or invested. Where you spend your money at, mga ganun. Make sure to spill it all out. No information should be concealed. Kasi, just like anything, para nagiging secret siya, one partner or one person in that relationship will feel left out. And by doing that, when you are talking and discussing about money, you can now establish a strong foundation of trust. when you sort things out about your finances. In short, lay everything on the table. Believe me or not, sobrang totoo to. Communication is key. And it fuels the fire in every relationship. So pag walang communication, may fire. Pag may communication, it also fuels the fire in a good way. It helps keep intimacy and builds trust between the two of you or between couples. But sometimes, we overlook the usaping pera. When they communicate, parang hindi siya masyadong komportabeng pinag-uusapan. Especially kapag bago pa lang kayo sa relationship. But as the relationship progresses, pwede kasi siyang maging issue. What is important to have is a layout plan that shows the story on how your finances are managed. Kami, we keep an Excel file. Medyo old school, ano. We keep an Excel file of our expenses, our investments, and we make it a habit to have periodic meetings, o 'di ba? Nangyayari ang meetings hindi lang sa office, nangyayari din siya sa totoong buhay. And since ang aking better half ay isang accountant, usaping balance sheets, income statements, and investments ang usual naming topic. Or kahit na simpleng accounting, for example, listahan ng expenses, savings, o may emergency fund ba, how long, magkano, saan ilalagay. Those are the things that you can talk about. And then, kung hindi mo naman alam, for example, you're not really familiar, or basically, first time mo narinig yung mga ganyang bagay, you can always ask to see if you are within your objective and if the goals are the same and if your ways on achieving goals are working. It's as easy as having an open conversation with your spouse, your boyfriend, or your partner on your financial status. The key to having a meaningful relationship is through a two-way communication. Handahan na ba sa tip number 2? Ito na. Always have a strong financial plan. But make it realistic. So what do we mean by that? As they say, make your plan smart. So specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and with timeline, 'di ba? Dapat time-bound 'yan. Kasi it gives reference points to show how far you have gone in growing, saving, or even losing money, 'di ba? So, sa bahay, I create project timeline. So, for example, this envelope is for savings for 3 to 5 years or investment for 3 to 5 years. Tinitignan namin kung is the needle moving towards something that is favorable to us or medyo away from the goal, diba? Have calculated risk in terms of planning also. Part dapat ng plan yan, contingency. Give way for each other's needs. So for example, gustong bumili ng bagong kotse or watch or sapatos. Kailangan ba? And if yes, identify and accommodate each other's short and long-term goals. Baka naman kailangan yon kasi kailangan sa trabaho. Or kailangan yon so that you can earn and collect the desired income that you are going for or that you want to achieve. And then, align on how you can both achieve your common objective. Sabi nga nila, pandemic pero ang daming binibili. Pwede naman din kasing pandemic pero ang dami mong webinar at kailangan mo yung mga binibili mo to earn money. Diba? As long as you communicate, as I've mentioned, magiging strong yung financial plans. Be transparent in telling each other's expenses. Diba? Lay it on the table nga. Do not leave any information out. When you list, be honest. Kasi baka naman nililista mo, pero sinasandbag mo lang din. Sino naman ang niloloko mo dyan, di ba? You need to know how much money you have in total to operate the household expenses, or in your case, if you have a business, your operating costs, your overhead, yan. So, as for me, I teach kids of my own and dun sa kidpreneurship that recently concluded na yung mga basic stuff like putting expenses, investment, categorizing those things on different envelopes. Sa adults, naka-excel na yan, like what I'm doing. As adults, we can also do this by having a separate wallet, or if you like, an ATM debit card wherein your expenses are automatically taken out of that debit card. And then you just put what is due para alam mo din, to track din siya. By doing this, you can control how much money you should spend and stop spending further. Okay? Yung mga sinasabi na, kasi investment to eh. Okay lang, wala namang problema. But natutunan ko kasi siya na you have to have an upper and lower control limit. Ibig sabihin, if beyond your limit na, stop na muna. Pag-aralan mo muna ulit. And usually, kapag nagbe-baselining ako ng expenses or nagpo-project ako, I usually take 3 to 6 months of the cost kung magkano yung dapat i-expend. And then, that's how I put the amount. Ibig sabihin, hindi ako dapat sobrang magligay ng pasobra. Kasi lahat nga yan binabudget eh. Okay? Ayan. Tip number 3. Build dreams and achieve goals together. Yung together natin, yung TWO. Together. Okay? To better plan your spendings, as I've mentioned earlier, categorize your expenses according to their importance. Remember yung kay Robert Kiyosaki, yung merong quadrant. Hindi naman talaga tayo dapat laging nasa urgent and important. And did you also know that your time is equal to a peso sign or a dollar for that matter? Identify all the fixed expenses. First, your mortgage, utilities, and car payments. Everything that is recurring. These are expenses that you have to pay every month or on a certain date or amount. So, i-collect muna, have an inventory of all your liabilities, yung short and long-term obligations. Diba? Usually, pati credit card part yan. And identify each other's short and long-term goals. Ima-match nyo ngayon yan. And then, by doing so, you become each other's dream catcher. O diba ang sweet? Kaya nga relationship goals. Filter your dreams and goals. After that, match your money flow with them. So, here are some suggestions that you can discuss. Number 1 is building our dream home. Possible this year? Kahit pandemic, no? Pwede namang mangarap, pwede talaga. Nothing is impossible naman, especially kapag napagpaplanuhan. Can we buy another car next year? O, bibili mo na car, ano ba to? Pang negosyo ba to? Or sports car, di ba? Can we buy or can we go on a trip with the money we have? Wala naman kasing travel ngayon. So, I suppose, nakakaipon tayo, di ba? Until our next travel. Ayan, pag nagbukas ang travel, go. What do we do with our money? Do we keep it in the bank and earn very little interest? Or do we try something else? Pwedeng naka-mutual fund, naka-UITF, or naka-stock trade or crypto. Depends on your convenience and your risk appetite. What can we do with our money? Aside from that, should we invest or grow it? Should we save more? Should I get another job? for this investment. For example, you would like to start up a business or a new venture or partner with somebody. And what about allocating an emergency fund? Diba? Usually, emergency funds, hindi masyadong popular eh. And usually also, nakakatawa lang, emergency fund is equal to savings. Mali po yun. Magkahiwalay po dapat na envelope yan. The emergency fund is usually something that is withdrawable in case of emergency. Ang savings po will let it stay where it's at. Okay? Kung nag-earn siya ng interest, good. Kung hindi naman, it depends also on the goal. So remember, as a couple, you have to decide on this together. Tip number 4, identify your expenses. Aside from basic necessities, consider each other's spending behavior and identify upper and lower control limit. And I've mentioned this a while ago, di ba? Kasi kung walang control, nako, para yung gripo na nakabukas lang. It's like putting a certain amount for a specific expense per month. Dahil nga mahilig ako sa Excel, I chart my expenses and I look at it every month. Ano ba yung huge expenses ko? For example, before COVID, it's really more on mall, eat out, clothing, gas, all of which are important. It's something that is helping me with my job and my business. However, dahil COVID ngayon, less ang trips, usually home-cooked meals, di ba? So, ang mataas ngayon, ang inaasahan na mataas ngayon, utilities kasi you're always inside the house, watching Netflix, yan, yung mga Spotify. And then you have new gadgets like doing podcast or live in FB or IG. So, parang nag-even out lang. By doing this, you can estimate how much you would be spending and how much you can allocate for your savings. So, ang sabi, and ito ginagawa ko pa rin naman, keep 20% for your savings nung dalaga pa ako. More. Kasi, syempre ngayon, merong mga bayarin. 'Di ba? For the kids, for the household, personal expenses also. Ayan, it depends on your comfortable percentages. Both of you should be clear about your financial responsibilities. So, yung example ko kanina, kung single income ang isang household, hindi pwedeng maraming ganap or maraming buy online. Kasi single income lang eh, 'di ba? Ngayon, the more multiple income streams you have, all the better. And by this, combine your finances as you pay for your monthly expenses. So, I understand that some couples are usually merong iba-ibang mga ways on how to deal with expenses. Merong si husband lang, lahat, utilities, fees, etc. Tapos, si wife, more on the nice to haves. Pwede din naman na equal. Or for those friends na single parents, syempre 100%. Na what I tell lang them is that maybe you should have another source of income aside from employment or income sa work. When you combine your finances, you also see the behavior of each other, yung behavioral patterns on saving. Ayan. Ako, most of the time, I understand kapag tapos na. So, si Prof, he would project and discuss it first. And then we decide if we agree on certain objectives, how long it will take for the ROI or the return on investment before we decide. So, earlier in our marriage, hindi kasi ganun. But then, as time progresses, syempre, natututo tayo, diba? We learn from our mistakes. And naisip namin as early as siguro mga 30s kami na we needed to retire comfortably because we are both alpha personalities, meaning eldest kami on our families, and good thing naman that we are able to work early. Yan, while we are still studying, we work early and we were exposed on how to value money. And because of that appreciation, coming to talk about financial responsibilities isn't really an issue. Although there are still some period wherein medyo may mga miscommunication. And for the most part, it's really more on bakit binili yan, kailangan ba, or binili hindi naman nagagamit, something like that. So, identify your expenses together. So, if one earns more than the other, ayan, nagkakaroon ng issues din dyan, nagiging insecure. Tapos biglang nang o-audit na, 'di ba? Kasi nai-insecure dahil mas maraming pera yung isa. Yan. You can do this. You can split the expenses. The one who earns more can pay for higher bills like housing fees, education, utilities. Ayan. Usually the utilities are minor naman unless you are running a corporation, 'di ba? Ayan. While the one who earns less will be responsible for the groceries, yung something basic pero hindi naman masyadong malaki in terms of capacity. It is vital that you identify your expenses so that you can make adjustments to suffice for each other's financial weaknesses. As I've mentioned, based from experience, no, may mga couples na nagsisplit because they don't understand each other's buying patterns or their behavior towards valuing money, or dahil risk taker yung isa medyo conservative, they don't really get to align or calibrate if that is a good investment or a good venture to be in. Ayun, ganun na. So parang sayang naman, 'di ba? Ang relationship goals because hindi na pag-uusapan, walang plan, and most importantly, hindi transparent dahil hindi na-identify yung expenses or yung mga gustong bilhin, naghihiwalay na lang. O dahil hindi naman dyan natatapos ang lahat, may tip 5 pa tayo. So, monitor your bank transactions. Check why you have a certain account in the first place. So, ako, when I was still employed, I would keep 3 ATMs, and those 3 ATMs have different objectives. So, one for my savings, one for my emergency fund, and the other for investment. And that's for me alone. Yung kay Prof, iba yon. Dapat titignan what is it for. It is important that you both agree whether to have a separate or a joint account. Okay? So, yung iba, sweet. Boyfriend, girlfriends pa lang. Mga 3 months pa lang. May joint account na. Okay naman yon. Ang mahalaga lang is that we identify why is this for. Okay? Bakit tayo may joint account? Yan. Maganda rin naman yun. Maganda rin naman ang may joint account. In fact, according to one study, 60% of the couples are happier in their relationship when they share a bank account. O, di ba? Ang sweet. And one of the prime advantages is that it is easier to track each other's expenses. Funny because nowadays, when everything and where everything is online, we would still prefer a cash and a checkbook and a passbook. Sometimes, hindi nga naiintindihan yung iba na ano ang libreta. Diba? Libreta is equal to a bank book or para madali lang matrack yung mga transactions, especially if you're running a business. And if you have multiple businesses, and the personal account should be different from a business account. So, yung money na kinikita sa or income ng iyong business should be differentiated from your personal. That is also one way to see if you're doing a good job, di ba, in your business. If not, maghahalo-halo na lang yan. And you wouldn't know where to improve. Ayan, tas magkakaroon pa ng issue bakit nasasama yung personal. Masakit dyan, guys, kapag yung savings mo, nahihila mo na dahil you have to operate and continue or sustain your negosyo. And if you think that having a joint account will not work for the both of you, say for example, hindi ka pa masyadong sure, ayan, you can have a separate bank account instead. Yun nga, pwedeng iba-ibang bank book for different objectives. Just be mindful of each other's financial habits. Pag 15 talagang gustong kumain sa labas, or pag 30 at may binibiling shopping, diba? Therapy, retail therapy. When you are mindful of each other's financial habits, you lead each other to financial freedom without hampering each other's dreams or yung trip mo. Walang basagan, di ba? Having to discuss things about how you want your hard-earned money spent, and your partner, your boyfriend, or your friend na, your partner or your husband, mas masaya kasi at some point you have been seeing eye to eye. Or mafe-feel nila yun that you're not too restrictive with buying, ganyan. So they will be inspired and motivated to earn more. Kasi pumapayag ka, di ba? As long as you agree on things, you can have it in writing, di ba? Tapos ganyan. Yung partner mo, sabi mo na, will pledge to save, invest, etc. Ganun. Tapos pirmahan yung dalawa para kapag nag-aaway kayo, babalik lang kayo dun sa reference na yun. Di ba? Since managing money is not everybody's cup of tea, and even a single person struggles too, especially the single person, mas marami siyang gustong gastusin kasi it's 100% hers or his. I suggest that you tee up with someone who can help you manage. So the next time your advisor calls you, make time. They are your real-life accountability partner. Just to sum it all up, why money matters and to achieve that good and healthy relationship goals, we have to follow the following tips. Talk about money. Huwag mahiyang magtanong. Tip number 2, always have a strong financial plan and make it realistic. Tip number 3, build dreams and achieve goals together. Tip number 4, identify your expenses. And tip number 5, monitor your bank transactions. Until next time, BizBuds! Don't forget to visit my website, coachaiet.com, and follow me in Facebook, Coach Aiet. Visit our company website, xdtncompany.com. Keep soaring to new and higher heights of productivity and profitability. Remember to live a secured and have a happy lifestyle.